Welcome to this episode of the Sneaker Principle Podcast. Um, it is, I think, what is it? There we go. 2:36 in the morning, and I should be asleep, but my daughter woke up. She was having a bad dream, so she came to snuggle with me, and now she's asleep and I'm awake. But then I realized that I hadn't posted a podcast today, and it is my intention to create content every single day for the next 6 months. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it through, but while I still have the energy, I'm going to keep creating. So the voice you're hearing right now is a voice that is deep in, um, not fatigue, but I just have that morning, late night voice. So please forgive it, and I hope it is clear as far as what I am going to share with you this early morning. So I laid in bed with my daughter snuggled next to me, thinking about fatherhood. And my kids are with me during the weekend, and during that time frame, I get to disconnect from being Mr. Njoku, the principal, to being Uche, the father. And when I'm doing that, all the things that come into play, um, making sure that they're fine, they're fed, they're clothed, there's some entertainment, all the things that allow for them to function on a high level. And not only that, really engage in this thing we call life. It's my responsibility to provide them that healthy space when they're with me, and also when they're with their mother as well. I do what I can do from a distance, but when they're with me, I create an environment for them to thrive in and succeed in. And it's wonderful. It's a joyous experience for me because it allows me to reflect on a lot of things that I didn't have growing up as a child. Yes, I had an amazing mother who did her best. I had a father who struggled through a lot, which I understand now, but back then I didn't understand. So I don't want to say I overcompensate, but I do make sure that I'm hyper vigilant about their welfare. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it's in instances I feel like there's so much parallel between what I do as a father to my children and what I do as a school leader. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that appear in both realms that have to be there, that are required. So I want to share some of these things with you. It's actually just three things that I was thinking about that I was like, wow, these are the things I have to constantly be on top of, whether consciously or subconsciously. So here we go. Number one, nurturing. It's funny, I always believed that nurturing was the role that wasn't really my strong point. I am a disciplinarian, I am a rule creator, I am a rule enforcer, but I never thought nurturing, And the fact of the matter, most people will say, oh, that's the role of the mother, but the fact of the matter is, fathers nurture as well, in our own ways, in the way we care for our kids and make sure that they are covered, protected, encouraged, guided. These are all things that nurturing children, that in nurturing children that I see in what I do in my school community. I spend a lot of time doing those things for the students in my school and for my staff as well. Creating an environment that's safe and allows them to thrive and grow, and also allows for instruction and guidance. The next is adaptability. Man, as a parent, you're always adapting to the scenario, to the situation, to the emotion. So these things are like nonstop. One moment, my son is crying because his sister said something to him that he took completely out of context. Another moment, I'm having to, you know, what's the word? Regulate myself because there's so much going on in my brain. It's having a hard time processing all these, things happening. But however, I make the pivots, I make the switches, I make the quick left turns or right turns, because at the end of the day, my job is to make sure that everyone is good, everyone has what they need, and they're thriving. And this is what I do at school every day, whether it's my deans, my assistant principal, my teachers, support staff, students, parents, the community at large. There's always something that people are looking to me for an answer, for a response, and for actions to be taken. Yeah, my children might not realize that they're looking up to me for those things, but I know that those things are my responsibility, and it just exists also, in my work life as well. And lastly, accountability. I am accountable to my children's lives. You know, even beyond my time on this earth, I will always be accountable to the outcomes of their lives because the seeds that I planted early on, the tools that I gave them to be able to navigate this life. And believe it or not, it's the same way with the school. I am accountable to that school's success. I am accountable to the success of every child, every adult, you know, school bus driver, the cafeteria ladies, the custodial staff. I'm accountable to their success. And this is something that is non-negotiable. So many people try to say, "Hey, that's not my job." No, it is my job. Even the things that are not my job are my job because at the end of the day, these are things that ground the work that I do, making sure that everyone else is okay. To build a healthy schooling, sorry, to build a healthy school environment is very important that we keep in mind these next things I'm going to share with you. It's important to create a space where people feel encouraged and supported, also empowered. This is what I do with my children. And again, don't take me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying that I am the parent or the father figure of my school community. But there are things that are naturally congruent. There are things that are naturally aligned. A thriving staff is essential to the success of a school. You know, thriving children, or better, my children thriving in my household is essential to the success of this family. So these things I have to keep in mind. What I say, how I act, what I expect will, will have ramifications beyond the moment. And it's essential that I keep that in mind. The highlight of today was cooking. I made my son wanted SpaghettiOs. My daughter said no, she doesn't like SpaghettiOs, but it's too soupy. But she wanted the macaroni, but she said, "Daddy, just don't make it soupy." So I told my kids, "Okay, I'm gonna make some Daddy-O's." Something to make them laugh. They're like, "What's Daddy-O's?" I'm like, "I'm gonna make some cheesy, you know, um, macaroni and rigatoni and all this pasta and make all this stuff together." I don't know what I was doing, but I just knew that you can't go wrong with pasta sauce, ground beef, some cheese, a baking pan in the oven. So I made kind of like a macaroni-based lasagna. And when I say they ate till their bellies were full, they were well fed, and you see them sitting on the couch as the itis kicks in, and they're smiling and watching TV, and I'm saying to myself, I did that. And I try to do something in my school staff. I try to find those moments when I do something that looks like that, where they're moving in the hallways near their classrooms, and they're smiling and they're happy and they're satisfied because the environment allows them to thrive. So they're well fed. I want you to think about this. Your school community. What kind of environment are you creating? How are you feeding your team, your students, your parents? How are you creating a space where they believe and they're happy because they know that you as their school leader cares for them, that you are doing the things that needs to be done, whether they're conscious of it or not, or unconscious of it. You do what needs to be done to ensure that they are protected, that they are provided for, and that they are well fed. Please forgive my voice this evening and maybe the little bit of the scatterbrained nature of this podcast. It is now 2 2:47. I should be in bed, but I had to make this episode before I went on to get some more shut eye. Do me a favor. Share with me, what are the things that you do to nurture your school community? What are the things you do to nurture your family, your children? Let's talk about it. Let's share notes. And let's get better at doing what we do as leaders. All right, this is Uche Njoku, Sneaker Principal. Until next episode, be well.